Hello and welcome to our Sunday evening's edition of Arirang News. I'm Daniel Choi. More details have been disclosed regarding President Park Geun-hye's trip to Africa and France as she prepares to take off on Wednesday. During her visit to Ethiopia, Uganda, Kenya, and France, she will look to upgrade diplomatic and economic ties. Song Ji-san starts us off.
Africa is seen as the last frontier in the world, boasting a robust growth rate of 5% in the 21st century and a population of 1 billion people. President Park's trip to Africa will take her to the capitals of Ethiopia, Uganda, and Kenya, and set the groundwork to tap into the great potential of the continent.
By visiting the 3 biggest economies in East Africa, Seoul will strengthen cooperative partnerships and facilitate mutual growth in the region.
While assisting Africa with customized development plans, Seoul will also launch a new official development assistance project called Korea Aid, a truck enabling mobile healthcare and introduction to Korean culture. President Park will also become the first South Korean leader to deliver a speech at the African Union headquarters in Addis Ababa, allowing her to communicate Seoul's vision for the continent. Park will then head to Paris for a state visit marking 130 years of diplomatic relations with France. Presidents Park and Hollande will release a joint statement aimed at upgrading their comprehensive partnership for the 21st century, with the creative economy also expected to be a key focus.
Korea and France are optimal partners to realize a creative economy and cultural prosperity. The 2 countries will finalize deals to jointly foster new growth engines for the future.
President Park's visit to Africa will complete her global diplomacy map covering the Americas, Europe, and the Middle East. During her travels, President Park will discuss North Korea's nuclear issues and ask for partner countries to implement sanctions on Pyongyang. Song Ji-san, Arirang News.
Among the pending bills scheduled to be scrapped from the 19th Parliament are a set of labor reform bills. Korea's labor minister, however, says he will work to push for re-legislation of the bills for the sake of the country's labor conditions. Shin Se-min tells us more.
Korea's labor minister Lee Ki-kwon says he will push for legislation of a package of labor reform bills in the upcoming 20th National Assembly, calling it a regrettable reality that many young Koreans are unable to find jobs. The minister said the political circles should share the burden of responsibility.
Reintroduction of the labor reform bills in Parliament will be a priority once the 20th National Assembly opens.
The set of labor reform bills include labor standards, employment insurance benefits, compensation for industrial mishaps, and contract terms for non-regular workers. The labor minister cited that the youth unemployment figure rose 100,000 in just 6 months after the labor reform agreements made by the tripartite committee in September last year, and said that unless there is a push for reform, that number will rise even more, pushing the nation's sons and daughters into a corner. In regards to the ongoing corporate restructuring of the country's shipbuilding and shipping industries, the minister said that government should shoulder responsibility and support laid-off workers by helping them gain re-employment to secure their livelihoods. He stressed the need to push for legislation of labor reform bills as they include support measures for corporate restructuring, which could provide the greatest benefit for employees from the shakeup. Shin Se-min, Arirang News.
Korea's top 100 listed companies plan to continue with downsizing and massive layoffs in the face of slowing economy and the government's push to restructure debt-laden companies. According to Chaebol.com on Sunday, by late March, 51 such companies shrunk in size in terms of number of employees. Some 857,000 preside in these posts, meaning more than 2,100 jobs have been lost compared to the same time last year. Top names letting go of more than 100 workers in that span include Daewoo Construction, LG Chemicals, and Hyundai Motors. In tandem with this trend, the number of those who switch to new workplaces is also on the rise. Statistics Korea's latest data shows over 141,000 chose to make the change in March. That's a 20,000 spike from the same period last year. The South Korean government plans to offer a package of support measures to compensate local firms affected by the shutdown of the Kaesong Industrial Complex in February. A government official revealed that an announcement could be made as early as this week and are expected to cover losses for liquid assets such as finished products and raw materials worth up to $80 million. The firms, however, maintain that the losses are closer to $200 million and that total losses from the shutdown amount to almost $700 million. The complex was a joint industrial venture between South and North Korea. Seoul closed the complex on February 10th after North Korea carried out a nuclear test and long-range rocket launch earlier in the year. Come Thursday, the G7 leaders will tone up their criticism of North Korea. According to Japan's Nihon Keizai Shimbun on Sunday, the G7 Ise-Shiman summit will release a joint statement condemning Pyongyang in the strongest terms over its nuke tests and missile launches. The Japanese daily adds it's a warning that goes up a notch from the previous G7 summit in Germany last year when they adopted a joint statement that strongly condemned the North for its nuclear weapons developments and serious human rights violations and abductions. The upcoming event will be held on the 26th and 27th in Japan's Mie prefectures. U.S. President Barack Obama flatly stated he will not be apologizing for the atomic bombing of Japan during the Second World War when he visits Hiroshima next week. In an interview with Japan's NHK TV, Obama said the leaders are required to make all kinds of decisions in the midst of war and that the purpose of the trip is to promote peace and dialogue in efforts to realize a world free of nuclear weapons. As the first sitting U.S. leader to visit Hiroshima, questions have been raised whether an apology should be issued. However, the White House repeatedly stated there are no plans to do so. Obama is visiting Vietnam and will arrive in Japan on Wednesday to attend the G7 summit before heading to the Peace Memorial Park in Hiroshima on Friday. Earlier this month, South Korea's top mobile carriers divided up 4 new bandwidths, setting the scene for a battle for supremacy in IoT service. And with the government pushing for deregulation in the field, it appears the time to strike is now. They are rushing to get a head start while utilizing different core technology. SK will focus on a type of LPWA or low-powered wide area connection called LoRa, while KT will opt for LTM or LTE machine-type communication services. IoT technology connects users to a wide array of objects and services, but time will be needed to iron out the kinks based on user feedback. Other than providing better services, the bigger bouts will be fought in the arena of price competitiveness. New, innovative, and customized IoT exclusive fees are also being devised by the mobile companies. Korea's continued support for cultural content is bearing fruit. The Culture Creation Convergence Belt is set to play a key role in ensuring that the nation's culture industry grows and evolves. Comprised of the Creative Center for Convergence Culture in charge of planning and development, the Culture Creation Venture Complex is responsible for producing business as well as an academy tasked with nurturing new talent. In the process, the Center for Convergence has created some 130 new jobs. The venture complex will begin programs for overseas promotion and financial support of local contents, while the Academy plans to join forces with IT startups to fuse art and science for their 2017 projects. And with the opening of K-Culture Valley, K-Experience, and K-Pop Arena, the entire belt is expected to create more than 64,000 jobs and generate revenue up to $100 billion. Korean traditional lacquer. It was used not only to preserve craft and buildings, its strength also made it a nice finish for armors. Kim Mo-gyun explains how such durability may make the product popular around the world someday.
Ochil, as the traditional lacquer is known in Korean, was a common household item used during the Iron Age more than 2,000 years ago. Since then, Korean lacquer has been widely acknowledged for its high quality. It was used to cover objects made of wood, paper, bamboo, and even metal. After these objects were coated with lacquer, the finished product was long-lasting, water-resistant, and lustrous.
I think lacquer applied on the remains was the biggest contributor to the good quality.
Lacquer was not only used for daily supplies, but also in crafts and wooden buildings. Due to its firmness and durability, it was also used to coat armor and military supplies. An experiment to measure flame retardancy showed that a wood coated with chemical paint took 5.9 seconds to catch fire, while wood coated with diluted lacquer and traditional lacquer took 27.6 seconds and 30.4 seconds respectively. The use of lacquer has been emerging in various sectors ranging from automobiles, submarines, and electronic devices. It is highly anticipated that the outstanding traits of Korean traditional lacquer will soon be welcomed in the global market as well. Kim Mo-kyan, Arirang News.
And now the weather. Heat wave advisories have finally been lifted in Korea after glowing in red for days. Still a hot and humid week awaits with nationwide showers forecast on Tuesday. Seoul, Gwangju, and Busan starts at 17 degrees Celsius. Later in the day, the mercury will rise all the way to 29 in the capital, 28 in Gwangju, 26 in the port city. And now let's check out the weather conditions in other parts of our world. That's it for now. More updates coming your way at 10 p.m. Korea time. Thanks for watching.